Hey guys, it's Danielle over at DIYDanielle.com, and today we're going to be talking about how to install aspect tiles. This is like a backsplash, it's metallic, and the awesome thing is that it just sticks on your wall. So I am going to show you exactly how we're going to do this and the final results in my laundry room. This is a pretty exciting project for me. I've worked with Aspect before on our backsplash in our kitchen at our old house. Looks fabulous, and always got lots of compliments on it. It's really easy to install, and I'm hoping this will be the same. Here are the tools I recommend to install your tile. This is a metal file. It'll allow you to file down any sharp edges. All of your sharp edges will be covered with a trim, so you may not need to do this, but it will be helpful if you're planning on handling them and you want to make sure you don't accidentally scratch yourself. However, you should be good. A good pair of tin snips is going to do this job for cutting them. Now, I started with a special ferrous metal cutting blade for my miter saw, and a friend of mine uses a special metal cutting blade for her circular saw. The circular saw seems to do a better job, and the blade she has does a better job. However, if you use these tin snips, you can cut everything right inside your house next to your wall you're doing, and that makes it a lot faster. The other issue is if my miter saw combined with the metal cutting blade I used got dull very quickly, and even when I first started cutting these, it was throwing off a ton of sparks. That required me to use a mask, eye protection. I used an apron. I wore a hat over my hair because sparks were flying up and getting in my hair, and it got worse and worse the further into my project I did, which meant the blade was dulling, which you're going to expect a little. This is a lot to cut, although it's really not a lot, but it is metal. So you need to make sure you get the right blade if you use one, but I would not recommend that route. And if you decide to use a saw, I think the circular saw may be a better option. However, these tin snips, once I got a good quality pair, did a great job. And again, I could cut it right there in the room. I didn't worry about sparks. The only protection I was really worried about at that point was a good pair of work gloves to protect myself from any sharp edges. The last thing you want, the other thing you want is a good knife. You can separate these pieces out, kind of like this, and all you have to do is flip your piece and just cut along the edges, because that's held together by an adhesive backing. So you can cut pieces off to replace pieces and all that good stuff. We'll talk a little bit about why you might need to do that in the video. So let me think. The other thing you're going to need is a measuring tape and a level. And I usually grab a pencil and a ruler as well, because you're going to want to draw on the back where your measurements are. So you have like this little sticker here that's going to peel off when you put this on the wall. And but you can draw it on it to mark where you need to cut with your tin snips. So that's it. So the first thing to understand about this project is that you can stick this to regular paint, but you need to use adhesive, like construction adhesive, if you do, because it won't stick as well. If you prime your wall, you can avoid using a construction adhesive for most of this project, and it'll make it a little bit easier and faster to put on the tiles. We have a sticker on the back that can be just removed, but you've got to keep in mind that this isn't going to come off very easily if you stick it in the wrong spot. So you want to make sure that you're ready to put it on there. One of the things I'm going to have with me, I'm going to have a level. This is really important. You don't want your tiles on your wall like this, so you need to be prepared with your level for that. And the other thing you can do is you can take a pencil, and once you get it level, draw your line out. That way You can put it up there without the sticker removed, get it level, draw your line, remove the sticker, and then line it up nice and carefully so you don't mess up.
Okay.
The other thing I'm going to have is a measuring tape. So we are going to start out by sticking on our first 2 panels, and those are going to go left to right in this case. And then we'll measure the gap that's left and cut another piece to fit into that spot. So we have to just go row by row. There's no like cutting this in advance. I mean, you might be able to take the chance, but it's better to just go row by row to get this done. Okay, so as you can see, I made my line, made sure everything was level. Now I can go ahead and peel this off. Okay, so just to show you the back of this is some pretty solid adhesive. Okay, look at that. Boom, 2 pieces. All right. So the only thing we have left for this row is to cut a piece that fits this last zone right here.
So as you can see, we marked the 21 inches here. And so we're going to cut it right here.
And this is me cutting it with my miter saw with a special blade for metal. However, we tried tin snips as well, and I would recommend going that route instead. The piece I cut is going on the wall in that leftover area, and the remaining piece from that cut is going to start the next row. So we've got this piece on. Now we can follow up with another large piece. Now I just keep going. Just gonna keep working my way across. I'm pretty sure this is gonna be too big. So here we go. Get the measurement. Cut this and do the same thing. To place these so there's no gaps, I made sure to line it up on the left side so that the short edges were touching. Made sure those were lined up properly, and then started moving from left to right, pushing the tile up so it was connected to the tiles above it. I line it up right at the edge here. I'm not gonna follow it and make sure it's tucked into place properly. Because you've got a little wiggle room to like move things around until it gets really solid. Next thing we need to do is make sure we're working around the outlets. I am going to use my tin shears, and I'm going to lay this piece by piece. Here's what I did. I took apart the strips and I took apart them by sections just to make this a little easier. That way I can cut straight across. Okay, so here we are. We've got our piece. We can stick it on, and then we can work on our other pieces. Okay, so as you can see, we've got this here. So the next section I have is one of the I can fit 2 of these here. Let me actually flip that here. So all I need to do is cut straight up here. I'll mark it out, cut it, and then I can cut this side because I want to use the same piece so that it looks continuous. Okay, so I got that piece in. And again, we're gonna have to do the same thing for the bottom piece, but I'm gonna use the other side of that strip of 2 for this side. Just to give you a quick demo of what I'm doing, kind of the closer up version. So because I'm cutting around this, I am actually taking this apart. Here I have this, and what I can do is, first of all, I can take this apart. So I can put this piece in separate. So I can actually cut this apart. And this is purely for making this easier to cut. And I'm going to show you why it's easier to cut in a second. So what I'm looking at is I am going to mark where this is. I'm using sidewalk chalk, which is working pretty well for me. Okay, so I marked where this is on here. Now, if I used my tin snips here, I could cut up, but I couldn't cut across. If I separate these out, I can cut across very easily and up. So this just makes it a little bit easier to get my cut nice and straight. Now, just please remember when you're doing this, this is really sharp. This is metal. I cut my fingers up pretty bad yesterday because I kept grabbing the sides. Okay, yeah, that fits perfect now, so I can pop this piece on. Today I'm going to show you how I'm putting on some quarter round. I've got some area around here that I want to frame. Now there's two ways to deal with corners. You can miter the corners, which means cut them at a 45-degree angle, assuming you have a 90-degree corner. Or you can do something called coping. Okay, so I've cut my pieces for the trim up here. What I did is I'm going to use a miter cut for this, and I tried the coping for the other section. It's doable, but it's a lot more time consuming. And so all you're doing is cutting at a 45-degree angle, and one side goes like this, one side goes like that, and then you've got your trim pieces, which are opposite, that line up like this. And if there is a little bit of a angle difference, you fill it in with putty, which is fine, and then prime and paint over it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to just add our construction adhesive to hold it on. So as you can see, there's trim along the top. It's really hard to see. It actually kind of blends in there. A little adhesive that stuck to it. I'm going to wipe it away so it won't look so we got that one piece. Now we've got to get the two side pieces on as well. As you saw, they line up. So this one goes on this side, and that one goes, the other one goes on this side. We're gonna do the same thing with the adhesive.
So keep in mind that the adhesive is going to help hold it onto the metal, and what I'm doing with my nail gun is trying to go so that it hits the wood shelf or the wall behind the metal tiles if there's a little bit of a gap. The reason you need to do this is that the nails are not likely to go through those metal tiles, so you need to hit something that'll hold it on there.
Okay, so if you are painting and priming on the wall, you go around and tape everything. This is pretty much our last step besides just organization and making it look nice. So what I'm doing is I put my trim on and I did some patching. You can actually see I patched underneath here. I'm going to sand that down, and I placed this on, I taped everything, and I used used some spackling over all of the holes where I put the nails through to attach the trim. So not a big deal. Doing it, painting everything off the wall would have been a lot easier, especially seeing I'm working around the washing machine. Probably next time I would paint off the wall, but it's done, right? So here I'm gonna just go ahead and start sanding everything down, all the little edges where the spackling is. Go ahead and prime everything, and then I can start throwing white paint on.
And here are the final results. Let me know what you think in the comments section, and please go check out DIY Decor Store for all of your tiling needs. These are just amazing and gorgeous. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe and have a great day.